bring together some of the themes that we have been discussing yesterday and today is Professor Mark van Hagen. Mark van Hagen teaches in the history department here at Columbia University. He's the former director of the Harriman Institute, which reached a kind of apogee under Mark's directorship. He was very active. And Mark was elected 2 years ago, I believe, the president of the International Association of Ukrainianists, which I hope is the right technical translation. Mark, would you please?
I would also like to start with some thanks, again, to John Mitskill, who's the director of the East Central Europe Center, to Walter Zawitsky from the Ukrainian Congress Committee, to my assistant, Maria Sonivecka, and to John's assistant, Kevin Hallinan, because without them, this wouldn't have all happened. So on behalf of all of us, I'd like to thank them. About a dozen years ago, Frank Sisson, as part of his Ukrainianization program for me, dragged me to a conference in Kamenets-Podilsky, which was one of the first, was the first Congress of Ukrainian and Polish scholars in post-Soviet conditions. My Polish was a little better than my Ukrainian at that time, which has since changed. But the atmosphere at that conference was still, I think, one of rather aloofness between the two national scholarly communities. And that has changed a great deal in the last 12 years, fortunately. As president of the International Association of Ukrainian Studies, I was elected in Chernivtsi as the first non-Ukrainian and first non-diaspora president. I haven't quite figured out what that means yet, or even what my presidency means in many senses. But one thing that was very rewarding about that presidency was my first trip back to Poland last May. In a long time, I had done research there in archives and libraries for my own work and studied Polish as a graduate student. But I went for the first time in about a dozen years, again back to Warsaw, as president of Mao. And everywhere I went, I was greeted as some sort of Ukrainian-American hero, which I'm not. I'm not Ukrainian-American. I am American, and I am president of this Association of Ukrainian Studies. But what I saw happening in Poland was a confirmation of what I'd been hearing for a long time, that there's more interest in Ukraine in Poland than anywhere outside of Ukraine. And sometimes I even wonder if there's more interest even than in Ukraine in Ukrainian things in Poland. At the University of Warsaw, I learned that there were 190 students enrolled in Ukrainian studies. I doubt there is a Ukrainian university, let alone any other university outside Ukraine, where there are so many students studying Ukrainian things. And that's only one university. There's Lublin and Catholic University, Ionian University, as you've heard, which also have a great deal going on in Ukrainian studies. When I went to the National Library, the director, Pan Jagiello, handed me a book on Litva, Belarus, Ukraine, which he wrote, and how important it was for him. The director of the National Archives similarly expressed great interest and help to Ukrainian archives. I went to a book party for Yuri Andruchowicz's new translation into Polish, part of his Polish national tour with Rekreacji, or was it Perwersji by now, I think. And there must have been 200 young people. It was more than standing room only. You could hardly breathe in this place in Warsaw. And 2 nights later, I went to another book presentation by Aleksandra Chnaciuk in the Batory Foundation in Warsaw for her book Pożegnanie z Imperium, which was also packed with all sorts of Warsaw intelligentsia